The big news today is the declaration by the World Health Organization that monkeypox is a global health emergency. CNBC, CNN, New York Times. I was a bit surprised by this statement and by these declarations. So because I am a scientist and because I like to double check my facts, I went directly to the World Health Organization and I looked for this information. So I looked at the declaration, the actual declaration by the WHO. And actually it's quite interesting because this declaration seems to be a one-man declaration. It does not seem to have reached any real consensus. The number of monkeypox cases has been increasing in the world, that's true. And I'm going to show you the data as well, the data in the world and in several countries, US, UK, Europe. You're going to see the numbers increase, but it's not so clear. And in fact, if you look at the data, there has been somewhat a decrease recently. So we're going to look at the numbers, but first I want to show you what the declaration really is so that people understand what this emergency declaration really is all about. I went to the World Health Organization's website, who.int. So if you go to the newsroom, you will get to this page. News. The second meeting on international health regulations. This meeting, as you can see here, regarding outbreak of monkeypox, the statement of this meeting was released on the 23rd of July 2022. It's a pretty long read, actually, 21 minutes. And in this meeting, which lasted 7 hours, from 12 to 19, okay, that's a long meeting, 7 hours. The WHO gathered chairs and members and advisors regarding the monkeypox outbreak. Now, here is the thing. The committee members did not reach a consensus regarding their advice on determination of public health emergency. So there was no consensus. That's an important piece of information. However, the WHO Director General has determined, as you can see here, that the multi-country outbreak of monkeypox constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. So they had this very long meeting with a lot of people who could not really agree on whether or not it should be called an emergency. And the Director General, well, I guess, has the last word. He can just decide to call it an emergency of international concern. So was it the right thing to do? I don't know. From this news release, it is not very clear. And if you look at the numbers, I'm going to show you in just a second now, the numbers have actually been decreasing in the past week in many countries. So that's what I wanted to say. I think it's a bit more accurate to say it this way rather than just declaring it is an emergency concern. If you go to the news media, you will only hear emergency, right? They won't tell you the whole story. So here I tell you the story because the truth is there was no consensus from all the so-called experts, advisors, and committee members. So as you can see, it's a very long read, and I'm not, of course, going to go through all of it. I just wanted to go to the conclusions, which again state that there was no clear determination. If you go to the conclusions of this report, committee members express a range of views on the considerations before them. They were unable to reach a consensus regarding advice to the WHO Director General on whether the outbreak of monkeypox should or should not be determined to constitute a public health emergency of international concern. Now, if you go a bit below, you will see some of the remarks from the committee members, some in support of the emergency and some which were not in support. It is pretty instructive actually to read this. I can cite a few which were not in favor. Like, for example, the severity of the disease is perceived to be low. Another remark against declaring emergency was that the greatest burden of the outbreak is currently reported in 12 countries in Europe and in the Americas, with no indications based on currently available data of an exponential increase in the number of cases in any of these countries, which is true, and I'm going to show you the data in just a second. Early signs of stabilization, declining trends observed in some countries, which is absolutely true. Another important remark here was that the determination of an emergency of international concern would unnecessarily and artificially increase the perception of a risk of the disease in the general public. Not determining emergency would not mean business as usual. Interesting. All of these are remarks from committee members during this meeting. So very interesting. Now let's have a look at what the data says. The cumulative number of cases in the world has been increasing quite sharply over the last 2-3 months, very clearly. And now we are at 15,510 in the world, 21st of July. Okay, so a few days ago. But now if we look at the 7-day rolling average, we can see that there has been a little bit of a decrease here in July 13th to 18th of July. And again, just recently, although it's only one data point, let's go back to cumulative confirmed cases in the US. The US has not too many cases yet, a bit more than 2,300. And the UK has roughly the same number for a much smaller population. The situation is much worse in the UK at the moment regarding monkeypox, clearly. Roughly the same numbers in Germany too. France has less numbers right now, a bit less than 1,500. Spain has a lot of cases, actually, more than any other country so far. Over 3,000 cases in Spain. So this monkeypox outbreak is especially hitting European countries and the UK at the moment, even though it is a disease that comes from West Africa. Here we can see the 7-day average in all of these different countries. In the US, there has been a slight decrease here recently. In Spain was very, very high with over 170, roughly 170 cases, daily cases, okay? And then there has been clear decrease in the number of cases in Spain over the last week and a half. The UK, it doesn't increase too much. It's really quite stable over the past 2-3 weeks, frankly. Germany has seen a decrease over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Portugal is very low, has been very low, and actually there are less cases. As you can see here, 0 cases reported in the last couple of days, and there were 6 cases before. And as you can see in the world, this number is starting to decrease now. It seems that the situation is getting better in all of these countries, as we can see. There is either stabilization or decrease in the number of cases. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about this emergency declaration? Do you agree with it? Do you really believe there is an emergency state the way the COVID was? I mean, COVID was something different. It was really affecting a lot of people right from the start. But this monkeypox virus is really affecting a specific type of people, and the numbers are much less, of course, than COVID was in the first few weeks in 2020, if you remember. So this is very interesting. Let me know what you think. Let's have a discussion about that, and I'll see you in the next video.